and welcome to episode 20 of Dynamically Spoken, the weekly Guild Wars 2 podcast brought to you by Guildmag. It's been a couple of weeks since we last put out an episode, but as you can see, we have Steve and Ali with us this week. So say hey guys.
Hey guys!
Hello. How is everybody?
So Jason's not here because he's basically got to be up in a few hours' time, so he doesn't want to come hang with us. He wants to sleep instead, so whatever.
Sleep.
So today we are going to be taking a look at the Sky Pirates of Tyria patch and basically everything that's been happening over sort of the last week or so. But as always, we are going to do the weekly news, and Ali's going to do that for us. So take it away.
Okay, so the first news for the Sky Pirates of Tyria, as you probably all know, is the new dungeon where you get a new monocle. You have a chance to get a little monocle that makes you go oh, ha ha and kill your moustache. There's also the new thing that's coming out on July the 1st, which is going to be my favourite thing ever, is the new jumping puzzle called Not So Secret. And it's basically hidden behind a holographic mountain in Gandharan Fields, and it has a water slide. Is that true? No, but I do hope that's true. And so there's lots of new items in the gem store, including a custom arena, which you can buy time tokens for and help people with their own custom arenas, and new armor sets, and also gifting, which is wonderful, but not so wonderful because my birthday's already just passed. So ArenaNet, bad timing. You should have done it before my birthday. And
Pick it up, come on, pick it up, ArenaNet. Let's go.
And then there's also tons of changes to Profession, including a new condition called Torment, but it's being called, rather than Torment, it's just being called Mildly Annoying. There's also AoE looting in the options menu that you need to enable if you want to use that, and a new Sea of Sorrows book that has come out, and in-game you can do a little mini scavenger hunt that follows the areas where Kobe, the main character, went, and you get rewarded with for a book, Sea of Sorrows, that gives you 5 skill points. And that is the news, everybody. Did I sound like Jason? I tried to sound like him.
Have you ordered the?
You were just a little bit off, a little tiny.
A little bit too high. My voice has been high. Too much giggling.
Have you ordered the new Sea of Sorrows book?
Boy, I've already started reading it.
Oh, you've got it.
5 chapters in.
I've pre-ordered it. We haven't even got it yet. I think.
Nah.
What's the day today? 29th. I think I get it like a week today.
Yeah, well, that's because I bought mine on iTunes, so I started reading it on my iPad. So I'm thinking, and plus I do the lore on another podcast, so I kind of have to know this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Right, so should we kick things off then with the new Living Story stuff that's been released? So basically it consists of a new dungeon called the Aetherblade Retreat, new Sky Pirates achievements, which is mostly consists of finding weapons caches kind of in and around Tyria, but there's other little bits in it as well. And then of course a new jumping puzzle that's coming on, is it the 1st?
Yep.
Yeah, the 1st. So, thoughts on the dungeon then? Because we've all played that.
I love it.
See, I'm
It is
kind of
absolutely gorgeous.
in the middle. I think
It's the lasers, isn't it?
yeah. The first time I did it, I rage quitted at the laser room. I gave up. But then I did it with Ali, and we did it, so I was happy.
Yeah.
But it is quite a challenging.
It's about
dungeon.
the group, man. It's about the group.
Yeah, it is. I wasn't expecting it to be as challenging as it was. Like when I first went in, I was kind of, because the Molten facility wasn't all that particularly challenging, so I was kind of expecting this to be the same. But for me, it kind of feels comparable to like the normal dungeons in its difficulty. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Because one of my friends in my guild was saying that, because he does tons of dungeons, he's always on, he's kind of like the resident, guru. And he was like, it feels more like the mobs have a lot more health like normal dungeons. Like the Molten Facility, they had a lot less health. But he was saying these ones have a lot more health. The only thing is that veterans have just a tiny bit less health than normal veterans, but they, you know, it's kind of tough, and the mobs are tough. And I like that. I'm very much. I know people don't agree with me, but I really like the harder stuff, and I feel like I want to play these games where I can be challenged. And every time we get things like the Molten Facility, which we all know I didn't really like, I just feel like it's pandering to my little nephew, you know? It's not really for me, it's for my little nephew, that sort of thing.
I actually agree with that.
I definitely agree with you, yeah.
For me, I wasn't blown away by it. I don't know it.
What?
I don't know. You see,
Did you stand on the bridge and look at the waves? It was amazing. And the lightning in the background, and like the how like if you had a banner, there's a wind in the dungeon that would blow the banner, so it was to the side. Like,
in his defense, he rage quitted at the lasers, so he didn't see that bit. And I can imagine if you're like so angry and you had to rage quit, you wouldn't enjoy it half as much. But I managed to do it on the first way through, so. I guess.
Even the lasers looked really cool, like the graphics of the lasers and how they looked.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
The mechanics of the fight are really good. Like, I love the fights that always keep you on your toes. Like, you're always, like, running around and trying to look, and if you get it, you feel like, yes, I did it, I'm the best. You know, that kind of feeling. I really love that. And the lasers does make you feel that every time. Like, even when you know what's going on, and even if you get good at it, the next thing is to never get hit, which is the achievement. And in the defense of the dungeon, when you get a whole group who really knows what they're doing, plus they have a high kind of support and health, because that dungeon needs a lot of support and health kind of builds, you can actually do it very quickly. I think I did it with a party in like half an hour. And it was very easy. None of us really died. It was very, very easy. When everyone knows what they're doing, it becomes a very easy thing to do.
I suppose that's part of the problem with me, because the times I've done it has been like in the first few days it's been out, and I haven't actually played it since then because I haven't had a chance. So I suppose if I went back to it now, knowing a lot more of the mechanics of how the whole thing worked, I might enjoy it a bit more.
Definitely. I think
and ArenaNet, I think they tried to be helpful in the fact that they had a Twitch stream like the day before or something it came out. Like, they just had a Twitch stream like sometime in the afternoon. You guys can probably check the VOD. And it showed like they pretty much went through the whole dungeon and got to the end. They couldn't finish it. Actually, I think they wiped. But yeah. But they did do the whole dungeon. So I mean, there was no real spoilers in the dungeon. There's no like real. It's. I think that dungeon was more about like. I guess the only spoiler was how like well polished the dungeon was between this event, this living story, and the last one. Like, you could tell that they had time to make this, where the previous one they probably didn't have enough time to develop it properly. And you could also see like when they report, when they're like talking about it, they're like in like when you find like some forum posts or like some certain random tweets, they'll say like, we're starting to learn like how much time it takes, how many people we have to put on it. Like, people are having an easier time like communicating and interacting. So it's not only like make good content, it's like as a company how to best facilitate effective amounts of content. So it's not only like just one side, it's also the business side and the company side and the structure side that they're learning as well, which is a really strong time. And I think like for me, this was an improvement over Flame and Frost, and was obviously a definite improvement over the previous.
They're just getting
event.
Better, aren't they?
Exactly. I feel that they're consistently improving. They're really getting what people want, and maybe it might be an alternating thing. Like, one might be a little bit easier, and another one might be a little bit harder. And it's like give and take relationships that you guys that you were talking about. So people, like us who play more, we could have that more challenging experience that we enjoy. And then some people, if they're a little bit more casual, maybe the next dungeon it'll be a little bit more easy.
Yeah, they might invest in like hard and easy modes or something like that. Like easy mode for the one achievement and a really hard mode for another achievement. And in that case, the easy mode would have only one set of lasers, and then the hard mode would have like three or two sets of
Yeah.
lasers or something like that. Which it adds a lot of time for them, and I don't think they'll ever really do it because it would be very difficult for them. But it's
Well,
an
you
idea.
think it might be easier because you're giving more content, but at the same time, you don't have to really create. You're just adding new mechanics.
That's true.
So
You
it
can
might be a
advertise you have
quicker
two
way.
modes. Mm.
Yeah, like it'd be like 2 modes now with 2 modes, like have a sticker and like Captain Crunch on the side or something like that. But yeah, like I think, and also like you could see like in fractals, like with fractals, as you get higher fractals, there's new mechanics, and it's a little bit harder. So they're also probably learning from that as well. And to kind of like segue that, they now officially said like any of these dungeons, like okay, the problem is the reason why this stuff was temporary. The dungeons were temporary, and a lot of people are like, why don't they keep this stuff permanent? It's really fun. We like doing it, yada yada. The problem is they wanted to be faithful to both sides of the people. So when people say, well, I want new content and a living story, I want things to develop. So if they say, okay, we have this living story, but now this dungeon becomes permanent, like that's not the same. Like it's, and of course people's natural argument was like, well, I can still do a raw every time. I'm like, yeah, that was the original game. This is the living story. This is a separate, I think for ArenaNet, it's a separate thing that they're building. Like they want it to be where it comes around, you do it, and then like it's like you remember back upon it, and you have like these achievements, and it gives like a sense the world is changing that people want. But what they found is like what they can do is use the fractals. So they can say with the fractals, you're reliving it in the mists. So that's the whole thing. Like with the Battle of Kylo and all the SPVP maps, it's reliving the maps.
Yeah.
So now they can use these dungeons, and they say that now they're going to take Flame and Frost and this dungeon, and they're going to move it towards the fractals.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great idea to like keep the living story going, but again, being able to even lore-wise reuse content and that people enjoy.
Talking about permanent content as well as the fractals, they're putting in that. They're actually making the not so secret new jumping puzzle permanent, which is like it's actually the jumping puzzle is the Aether Blade kind of hideout sort of area, so it's a kind of permanent thing that is always going to remind us of that living story, and it's really cool because we can actually see how that progressed and how that came about, and for people who played it will always have this memory of the living story during the jumping puzzle. So I'm quite, and it also they advertised it as a really hard jumping puzzle, like not for the beginners jumping puzzle, which makes me super excited because I love those jumping puzzles. Clock Tower, I melt inside whenever I think about that. And Winter's Day jumping puzzle, I know people hated it, but it was my sweetheart. I loved it. So I'm really happy like that's coming out and that's permanent because they do get the itch. Like I really want to go back and play the Clock Tower every now and then. So I'm really glad it's a hard one is becoming permanent.
Definitely. I think that's one of the major advantages that Guild Wars 2 has is like most MMOs, the controls are usually really sloppy. And like the way you interact with the environment, like ArenaNet, the way their engine is, like you feel like you're playing a well-polished platformer when you do the jumping puzzles.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to bring up, because Ali is a bit of a lore buff and I was just wondering about it, is in the Aether Blade Retreat dungeon we do see the Inquest working alongside them. Thought my cam went off then. Do you have you really read anything into that at all? Because I don't know, I was just wondering, because they have mentioned in the Guild Wars 2 blog post about the Aether Blades that the actual Aether Blades themselves obviously aren't necessarily knowledgeable about the whole mechanical, magical thing, so they're getting it from the Inquest, but I don't know, have you read anything into it?
Well, just a little bit of spoilers for the end of the dungeon. So if you haven't done the end of the dungeons, I'm just going to mention something. It's not a big thing, but skip ahead if you don't want to hear this. At the end of
we'll wave when she's done.
yeah,
We'll call
put
you
it on
back.
mute. You can just see my hands going around. At the end of the dungeon, my train goes, Scarlet will have my head for this. And Scarlet is a very human name. So obviously the person behind it is human. So in my mind, and when you look at those pirates, especially when you look at Horik, he's as dumb as a brick. You know, he's like, all his vocabulary is aye, Captain. And, you know, that sort of thing. So in my mind, the pirates, I think, are not really smart enough on their own, and Mitrin isn't part of the Aether Pirates. So I think that Scarlet is
I
actually...
think you have to your USB thing is correct.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I think that Scarlet is actually the boss, and she's actually coordinated the inquest and the pirates to come together for her benefit. So I have no idea who Scarlet is, but genuinely you can see that the pirates are just too stupid to go to and the inquest would not have anything to do with them. The inquest are Azura, and they think that all other races are just fodder. So, you know, they wouldn't really bother unless it benefited them. But because the name Scarlet is very human, I guess that Scarlet is facilitating these two people to come together for her benefit. So it is interesting that the inquest is there, and really interesting thing about the inquest is out of all the factions interior, they know the most about the dragons. They've had contact with Mordramoth, which is the plant dragon, and as well as Kralkotoric, which we haven't had, as players, we haven't had contact with. So they know the most about it, so they could really be using the inquest to... The presence of the inquest could mean some sort of connection to the dragons. So it's interesting that you bring that up. Like, now I didn't really realize it so much until you said that, but I definitely think that there is some sort of because they could have just made the whole dungeon pirates, couldn't they?
Yeah.
So why did they add the inquest in there? And there's obviously a reason behind that, and I would say that it has something to do with the mysterious Scarlet. So that's quite interesting.
Yay! I made
Scarlet
a
is
law
a flower
contribution.
too. Which is, I mean, I don't know if it fits with the naming convention, but it is a flower, Scarlet. So.
It's a very human name. I can't imagine any Zero or Norn. No, not even a Norn or a Sylvari even. I don't think Scarlet is Gaelic enough. Is it Gaelic or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing they did mention is the person behind it generally has to be wealthy because of the cost of like having all the airships and everything. So one thing we know is Scarlet's probably got a bit of money.
Probably a human noble, something to do with Queen Jenna or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, because you saw the main, what's her name?
Yeah, my train.
My train.
My train?
Trin?
I'm pretty sure.
Trin?
Now you've got me confused. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's my
I never focus on the name. I always focus on like whatever.
Just call her Mai, because like she's meant to be Asian, and Mai is the first name, so just go with Mai.
Yeah. So like she was saying like in the previous Dragon Bash, the one that's still going on, but in Dragon Bash, how she was trying to get, a seat. Like she was trying to foil the event to get a seat in political power. So it does make sense that it could, because the controversy could be something to do with this is a real political move going on here with the lore.
That definitely makes sense. If someone is pulling the strings to the extent where they can get the inquest and pirates to work together, it's not, why would they want to do that? They obviously have a lot of money and power already, so obviously they want more power, and a seat on the captain's council would give them quite a lot of power.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so interested. I love this sort of stuff.
Well, I guess we'll see where it takes us then.
Okay, should we wave for the mute
Okay.
people? We've forgotten about them.
We stopped. You could probably rewind the maybe a little bit, but we're playing the dungeon first.
If you're a
And then
person
watch
that
this.
if you're a person that put it on mute and waited until we waved, good on you. Just put a comment in the comment section.
Gotta unplug it. Your
Yeah.
fingers crack.
Oh.
This is the new thing. If it starts to crackle, we'll pinch our fingers together.
I think I'm gonna have to either buy something new because it's been happening on both podcasts now. Sorry to everyone's ears, by the way.
It's alright.
Uh,
Okay, so what should we move on to? Okay, so the achievements for Sky Pirates mainly consist of finding all
Chiefs.
these weapons caches. Have you found any? Because I haven't bothered to go and get them yet. Have you?
I've found. I found 6 out of 7, and the reason I didn't find one of them is that it's glitched. And I went onto 2 different servers, and it was glitched on both servers. So I think it might be a universal glitch. So.
Come on. Did you guys run to the glitch in the dungeon where the lady would get stuck? Keel? I'm so terrible with names.
Yeah,
The,
Keel.
the
Blind guy
Keel, yeah.
Ellen
Yeah.
Keel. Can I just say I love Ellen Keel? Like, if I ever married a woman in the Guild Wars universe, it would be Ellen. She is, like, freaking reliable as hell, and she just, like, seems like the best person to marry. So, yeah, she's my crush in the Guild Wars universe.
When she gets stuck and you keep talking to her, because what happens is she comes up and she gets stuck
Is it in
at a
the
certain
box?
point. It's right before the final dungeon part, like, you know, when you jump up on the things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we come down, like, she gets stuck there. Like, I think initially what it was probably for is to stop her before she aggroes the next set of mobs up there. So you have to, like, bring the mobs down and make sure they aggro to her to pull her out from where she gets stuck. However, I think that was fixed. I saw the patch notes for today. Was it today or yesterday? And I think it was fixed in that patch yesterday. But yeah.
We were super unlucky. We finished the whole dungeon, finished the boss fight, and she got stuck on, it was our one, she got stuck on rocks. And it was after we finished everything, and all we had to do was talk to her for the reward, and she got stuck, and
we had to redo
that
it.
sucked a lot. Yeah, we just redid it.
I didn't mind, like, when we got stuck, like, we were trying for a while to bring it back, but I didn't mind. I mean, I really like that dungeon a lot. I think it's really enjoyable. And it's funny, like, in the middle boss fight, like how he eventually the person gets defeated. Like, I definitely cracked up.
I know. I love that mechanic. Like, I love that it's not so forward thinking with them. They thought very laterally. Like, it's not all about health. In the end, it's like you have to break down his mobs, and then when you finish, like, I remember the moment I first did it, first got through the area, like, 2 of us were still alive, the rest of our team was on the floor, and I'm thinking, and his health is only like a third of the way down, and I'm thinking, 2 of us are on the floor, there's no way we're going to finish this. Like, we got through the laser bit, but we're not going to be able to kill him. This really sucks, because we just finished the laser bit, and I was like, we're not going to be able to do it. And he's like, I'm going to unleash my greatest, and then the thing goes down and, like, splatters him, and that relief I felt, like, that kind of, this is fantastic, and that it's not just about, like, oh, you can't possibly end the fight because his health is only a third of the way down, sort of thing. I just love that thinking. Oh, I'm getting all fangirly. Bring it back, Ellie. Bring it back.
Right, so if we move on from the dungeon then, we got AoE looting in this patch. I think a lot of people are having problems with it, haven't they? If you haven't sort of bound it, if you've literally just done the checkbox, it doesn't kind of work a lot of the time. I know I've certainly had that problem. Either of you two?
Yeah, same. One situation I turned it on from the very start. One situation I'm like clicking 5 times to pick up the loot from the dungeon. Then one other time, like, I click and, like, it seems like this one mob has, like, this whole list of items. So it works iffy, but I think you have a lot more luck if you keybind it to a certain thing. I think you have better luck that way.
Yeah, because what happens is, and this is the reason why I haven't used it, is if you're over and you get the query saying the interacting query where it says search, it'll do that first, and it won't AoE loot after. Like, won't AoE loot. So that's why I'm like, unless they bind, interact, end, or like where you basically assign a key to one or the other, or it's just a check mark where the normal interact will be an AoE loot. If it's development, if they could do if it's possible with programming and stuff, I probably won't use it just because like you said, like you don't know if it's gonna AoE loot all the time. So I'd rather just run around to every corpse and pick it up rather than thinking I did and missing out on a precursor.
Lucky though that now they have those chests. Every time I see those chests that appear, like that it has a yellow or something in it. Oh, when I see them, especially in fractals, I love seeing them. I'm like, ooh, chest. And
yeah, especially it wiggles too. It doesn't just hang out there. It like shakes around. And
it's just like I love seeing those. Yeah, so it's just came out, so you can't expect it to be perfect just yet, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll get fixed. Right, so I think another major thing then was the whole massive balance to all the professions. So I think Steve's probably best to talk us through the major points. The only thing I know is that Guardians did get buffed. And I don't know why, but Steve, maybe you
got healing. I mean, the one thing I did want to mention, which is really good, is the custom arenas. There's a ton of custom arenas in SPVP, which is a great thing because when ArenaNet can then go to NCSoft and be like, listen, guys, like we released custom arenas and now we have SPVP earning a steady paycheck. It's like we want it, like open up SPVP and let's go more. Let's keep it the momentum going, and then that way NCSoft will maybe give them more funds or allow them to divert more funds into SPVP. And you can see that's happening because ESL, which is the esports league over in Europe by you guys, esports ESL is now sponsoring Guild Wars 2. And it'll be in future events, which is really exciting for PvP. This is a tremendous thing. Like, next thing that we need is MLG, maybe DreamHack, we need to get this. But ESL, the fact that they picked it up is a really good sign for continuing the momentum into esports. So yeah, the professions were tremendous changes. The first major change is, as far as condition goes, is weakness. Initially, weakness would only cause fumble on 50% of your regular attacks. So basically, if somebody stacked crit, weakness would become almost pointless to use on them because all their crits would be full crit damages. So what happens now is with weakness, you get 50% fumble on all attacks, which is amazing because if they fumble an attack and that attack was a crit, that is a tremendous amount of damage that was negated by the weakness because it won't crit and then the crit is glancing. It'll actually fumble and then the fumble will override the crit to be half damage, which is amazing. So weakness right now is real strong, guys. Like, if you have weakness, it's really good against high precision builds. And then the second one is Torment, which right now I believe the reason why it's not in as many skills is because ArenaNet wants to see how many people are using it and want to see how people are reacting. So if you figure all of a sudden ArenaNet gave Torment to a bunch of different classes and it wasn't balanced properly, because again, the thing about Torment is basically a barb. So anytime you walk, you're going to take damage, and that's barb in a lot of people call it barb. So with something like that, it isn't like, oh, you're going to get this set amount of damage, etc. It's like if the person doesn't realize it and they keep running, they're going to get upset or whatever. So that's why I think that's the reason why ArenaNet only implemented it in 2 or 3 abilities or whatever it was.
I have a real problem with that though, because the whole thing about the game was you can move while using skills, and then all of a sudden there's this skill that limit your movement. And I kind of get that. At least it's a condition that you can get rid of it, and it's meant to encourage people to use condition removal, but it seems very kind of what's it called? It goes against what they're already saying, like counterproductive in my mind. But then I haven't really used it, or it haven't had it used against me. I don't really like it as a concept, though. I find it very, as I said before, counterproductive.
I mean, that's definitely a point, but you also have to think confusion's in the game. And confusion is telling you not to use your skills. And there's retaliation in the game.
That's very true, yeah.
Retaliation is telling you not to hit somebody. So I think like that's definitely a really valid point. Like I really didn't think about that at all. And I think that's because the movement is one of the strong things about Guild Wars 2. But at the same time, what they're trying to encourage is higher level of play. Like they want people to be aware of the conditions, because a lot of, some people, they just ignore. Like they'll just be like, and like there'll be things flashing like you're taking damage, and they'll be like, I don't care.
We actually have an elementalist in our guild who flatly refuses to have any condition removal. Like she's like, yeah, I don't have any condition removal at all.
Like what?
She goes down.
What does she do with ore? Like ore, you can like.
She plays a lot with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's a guardian, and I think he does all the condition removal for her.
Yeah. Don't worry, honey. Keep on playing.
It's very sweet when you think about it like that.
It really is. So, I guess we'll kind of go into seeing that these new changes to the abilities, which are really strong, and we'll see where Torment goes. I think again, this is maybe another reason why they didn't have a lot of it, like you said, because they probably didn't want to have people afraid to move. So I think they thought of that as well, and that's why they put it in. I think it's the abilities, right? One on Mesmer and two on Necro.
No,
I thought
if I
Thieves
remember,
have
it. A Thief, Necro, and Mesmer.
Okay, so Thief, Necro, Mesmer. Oh, and by the way, if anybody saw that image on Reddit, or it was posted in the forums and maybe on Reddit, where it shows the Mesmer ability, and there's tons of damage on the Torment, and then the Thief version of Torment, and it's not a lot. Comparing one ability to another on a class, I mean, I'm calling out the community like this. How old are you? One ability does not make your class.
Yeah.
And we don't know how much damage each. You have to look at how much damage did it do before. You don't just say, oh, look, the Thief gets 300 damage on Torrent, and the Mesmer gets 3,000 damage on Torrent. What the hell is this crap? Mesmer's OP, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay.
What about cooldown and, Thieves hit, quite often, they... Yeah.
Yeah.
These don't have a cooldown.
Oh yeah, forgot about that one.
and okay, I'm over it. Bring it back down. So I hope you guys understand why I'm just kind of what? All right. So let's go into classes. First class you have Elementalists. Now with Elementalists, I think a lot of this stuff with Elementalists, you see the aftercast, and the aftercast is kind of what I feel is the smoothness of the game, how it feels. You could judge by the name what it is, but for a lot of people, and this goes into, I believe this is also very important for PvP people, because in PvP it's very, very momentary. You have to react instantly and it's much more precise in the terms of of that aspect. And a few of professional elementalists have been commenting how the class feels a lot better because you don't get that stutter after you cast an ability. You could free flow into abilities, and even in some of the tooltips ArenaNet put, we did this so you could follow up easier. So they want you to chain the abilities together, so it feels a lot smoother and easier, which is really cool. Phoenix is now unblockable, which is Fire 3.
Yeah, Scepter.
Scepter. Thank you. Our Elementalist specialist. So Phoenix is really strong right now. That's a powerful. Unblockable is awesome. From what I'm looking, air seems like the glass cannon. If you go 30 into air, you can get real glass cannon. That's really all I have about elementals. It's not my main, so I'm not really sure. It's difficult to remember what it was and what it will be. There's definitely some videos with comparisons on the internet. Next up is Engineer. That's my current main. Rifle Jump. the rifle jump shot feels so much better now. Like it used to be you did it and then you would be sitting there for like 10 years while your character's getting. It feels so much better now. It feels a lot quicker. Rifle got a pretty good boost. So a lot of people who shot away and only did pistol or pistol shield, rifle feels pretty good now, which is exciting. So definitely get your power engineers out. You don't even have to do conditions. Then we have static shield, and static shield is the 5 shield ability that got a significant nerf. It like a dramatic nerf, and it's dramatic because they fixed a bug with it and they nerfed the amount of stun that went with it. Originally with static shield, you used to be able to cast static shield and get like 3 auto attacks or 3 ones while it was charging. So you would be immune to range stuff while it was charging and be able to get 3 auto attacks in. So you're reducing damage and increasing your damage output at the same time. That's changed now. So you can't, once you activate an ability, it stops. And also if you throw the shield, which is the second activate on it, if it hits a wall, it disappears. So it won't reflect back. And the stun was reduced to 1 second from 2. And I think it used to be over 2 seconds. It felt like it was, because you should be able to do 3 auto attacks. So I don't know. But it's a significant nerf to that ability. So we'll have to see where they react. I mean, personally, I'm indifferent about it. I won't try and put too much personal into it, try to give you guys the facts. Another thing is Stunbreaker has been removed from Rocket Boots and Elixir R. And it's been transferred over to Slick Shoes and Rumble, which I believe is maybe the Thumper activate after you have it down. The overcharge is, I think, and it gives it stability. But it kind of like, engineers don't have a lot of stun removal in their builds. And those 2 abilities where they put the stun removal aren't necessarily used a lot. So we'll see how that goes. Again, the meta is changing. Like, we don't know. New builds are going to come. I'd say overall, if I did opine about it a little bit, I think that engineers have lost a little bit of the build diversity they gained in the last patch. It seems like because the stun removals are on abilities that aren't frequently used, they have to kind of use grenades again and stay out of battles instead of being able to like run in and use mines and stuff and having fun that way. They have to kind of step out. The one thing that is the saving grace is rocket boots. Rocket boots are amazing. I feel like Superman. It is absolutely amazing. You go flying through the air. And here's the awesome stuff about rocket boots. So with rocket boots, one thing you can do is you can, the blast finishers, like if you do smoke and rocket boots, blast will make you stealth. So one thing you could do, like picture a situation like this. Your buddy goes down, but your buddy is like, a distance away from you. You could cast the smoke mine on yourself and then use rocket boots. It'll carry the smoke over, so when you land, it'll do the stealth over there, not where it was casted back here.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is sweet, and it's when you use the water finisher, it looks like you're belly surfing on a wave. It's absolutely amazing. Like, just overcharge your healing turret and then use it right after, and you'll literally like be surfing on the wave, flying in the air. It's absolutely amazing. It is so much fun. And if you use the Slick Shoes and you get super speed, you literally travel farther than the original Ride the Lightning. It is absolutely amazing. It is so awesome. Just flying around everywhere, jumping puzzles. Oh my god! Like, you control people so much in Eternal Battle. Like, if you guys just like watch Teldo is an engineer from Europe. He streams on Twitch a lot. Like, watch his stream when he goes into Eternal Battlefields, flying around everywhere with this. Like, it is the most fun you could ever happen. It's just, I'm just so happy about that. Guardians, briefly, Guardians look like they got more stun breakers and they got more heals. Like, that's what I was looking at. They got a lot, like, which I think. Rowan, were Guardians like a little bit bad on stun breakers?
Ish. But
Ish.
I mean, then again, to be honest, as a guardian, you've never particularly noticed it because half the time you're blocking most attacks that come your way anyway. So
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't
true.
affect you that much. Well, certainly for me, it didn't anyway.
I never really noticed it either because I always use shouts and stand your ground. Like, it's spammable. Like, I've got on 20-second cooldown, so I just spam that thing like crazy. So I really don't really have a problem with breaking the stun either. But
yeah, I think like they make Guardians are even more viable. I mean, Guardians are like they're permanently viable. You know, like the AOE stability is just the icing on the cake for like AOE stability. It's that's amazing AOE stability.
I did notice that they buffed the scepter because I don't know if you saw that video where that guy was they put the Benny Hill music and the guy was a guardian was using his scepter in PvP, and there was a thief or something like that, and he was just kiting like back and forth like this, and every time the guardian cast a scepter, it would go past him, and so that guy could kite the guardian scepter indefinitely just by going left and right. And that kind of like, I think when ArenaNet saw that, they're like, oh, we need to fix the Guardian Scepter. And they actually did that in this patch. I think they got like 33% faster or something like that, which really helped. Like, I noticed it's pretty good now.
I mean, that's the great thing. Like, this is where like our voices and stuff like come in, because the guy made a funny video and ArenaNet's like, oh, that makes us look kind of bad. Like, you guys doing the like so, and that's another cool thing about it, that it's not like the effects aren't just effects, they're actually the projectile traveling. So it's really cool that they can actually increase the speed, not damage or cooldowns. They can actually just increase the speed, and now it makes Scepter so much better on Guardian, which is awesome. Mesmers from Illusionary Counter. That's the skill that applies the torments, and that was the one that people were comparing against the Thief Torment a lot. So if you guys want, check that ability out. That's the one that has the torment on it. Blurred Frenzy, it got slightly nerfed in that it's an evade, and basically what used to happen is like if a warrior or somebody casted retaliation, and you were swinging at the warrior with Blurred Frenzy, you wouldn't take any damage at all. So what they did is they decided to make retaliation effective against it. So it might have been like a rocks, paper, scissors kind of thing. And so now Blurred Frenzy, you aren't like invincible when you do it anymore. It'll actually take damage from retaliation. That's the one thing they said it can. So interesting. The big thing is with clones and phantasms. The health points were adjusted all over the place. Like, they were reduced, but they had more. It said like it had more initial health. So I think like it probably phantasm builds are gonna fade out of the meta a little bit. So we'll have to see where that goes. But a lot of people are saying that phantasm mesmers are quite out there. Necromancers, finally, the Necromancer is actually, Necromancer went from, like, the depths of the dirt, like, never did any damage, like, needed a party to support them so they could do anything, to, like, 1v1 boss. Like, they own Rangers now. Like the wells are amazing. Like, if you look at it, like, all you see when you look at Necromancers, you see, like, oh, damn it, and also you see wells increase, wells increase, wells increase, wells increase. So wells are boss right now. Wells are huge. And not only that, they got a new skill in Death Shroud, and that's the Torment. So they're getting a number 5. Like, it used to have 4. Now they have another 5th ability in their Death Shroud, which is their little cloud smoky thing. And it now grants Torment. Everybody's crying Necro OP. I mean, you know, people react kind of quickly because they don't know how to counter it yet. But Necro right now, as we speak of this moment, like most people are saying, Necro OP. Like, when's the last time you heard Necro OP? Like, within the first month of the game, that was it. Like, or even like pre-launch, like when the Death Shroud was like 150,000 health.
Yeah.
And so Necro OP right now, maybe people will counter it. So Necromancers, log back in, have some fun while you still can.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I actually am a necromancer, but I'm just like I look poor little Azura. I kind of got bored of her, and I'm just like, I didn't really enjoy her very much. Now that it's like the wells, because all of my skills are pretty much wells except for one.
Or OP.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back
Get
in
the
there.
big wells that are like this big now. So you get these huge wells that do tremendous damage. Like, have fun while you still can.
All right, I think I'll go
they're gonna
back
find
into
a
her.
counter. Or it's gonna get, it's like Rangers, the pets. A little teary-eyed here. Rangers pets. No more like sending an owl at somebody to peck them for like 10,000 health. Like literally like running. I mean, I'm sure you guys remember like the podcast like a couple weeks ago. Like I was talking about how this guy was screaming like, "Get this freaking bird off of me!" Because like Ranger pets were like mega. They didn't get nerfed with hit points, so they're still good and tanky. They can still do a good and tank, but the damage, like most Ranger pets, got nerfed. The ones that didn't was a bird, the shark, and the spider got a little bit buffs. So I think like nobody was using like shark. I mean, water combat. Nobody really talks about that. But I like water combat, but we'll all right.
Yeah.
Spiders, you can see a lot of spiders, and most people use the owls instead of the bird. So the bird got a little bit of increase, so that might be good. Again, the aftercast decreases on the Rangers, so maybe trying to make them feel a little bit more smooth. And their cripples. The Rangers got more cripple buffs, and cripple is pretty strong. Like the arrow barrage, like the cripple, it got a buff there. So Ranger, I mean, as far as I personally think cripples are strong. So they did get a buff there. I think that's pretty good. Thief, the shadow trap is amazing. Like you could travel across the entire Earth. Like there's this guy Jumper. He's a shadow thief. He does sword dagger. He actually does sword dagger. So he gets the procs from switching his weapons. Like all he does is sword dagger. I mean, this guy is like you. I mean, you're watching his stream, right?
Fanboy.
So, yeah, no, I'm a fangirl right now. Like this is Justin Bieber right now. That's how good of a thief this guy is. Like you watch him, and like you're watching his stream, like you're seeing what he sees, and you still have no idea where he is right now. Like he literally is everywhere, and he'll teleport halfway across the map, and very aware. Like his awareness is unbelievable. If you want to watch, like I could imagine what it's like playing against him. Like I see what he's doing, and I have no idea like where he is. I could imagine, like, because he uses stealth constantly. Like, I watched it one time, him 1v1ing somebody else, because I knew, like, they were streaming at the same time, so I switched it. I'm like, I want to see what, like, Jumper looks like when you're when you're playing against him. I had no idea where he was. Like, he's up on the top of a ledge, then he's behind you, then he's, like, over, like, it's just like, oh my. So, basically, with Shadow Trap, you activate it, and this is why I'm saying he's around all over the place, because you activate it and it sets a little trap. Now, if somebody walks into the trap, you mark them, and then you could choose to teleport right back to them, which is amazing. Or it has disarm trap, which teleports you back to it from near unlimited distance. So what he was doing with it, I mean, like, oh god. So he would be at the Battle of Kylo. He would be at the trebuchet the entire time, trebbing everybody. As he would, like, people would come up and try and kill. He would fight. 2-3 people come up, he would immediately leave. He would run across, like, and then he would set a shadow trap. He would run across the map to where the little gear spawns that you have to bring back to rebuild it again. He would pick up the gear, walk 2 feet to a wall, and then teleport all the way back, and then run back up and do it again. It was like, it's so cheesy. It's awesome. Like, it's absolutely amazing how awesome this is. That's why I kind of saw that. That's all I really did. Like some adjustments to the amount of initiative usage, like Larcenous Strike, which is sword dagger, the middle one, the third one, that got a little bit increased, and like they made adjustments with initiative. So I would definitely advise any thieves to check that out because your initiative is getting changed. Warrior also, finally, I'm almost done rambling. Sorry, guys. I always think of this stuff. Warrior, again, a Warrior, the after the cast reduction. So I think, again, we're dealing with the smoothness of the class. Also, one else, I'm sorry, I missed it. Ranger. Shortbow got decreased across the board to 900 range. So
people were saying it was a shortbow nerf, and everyone's like, "Oh, longbow feels just so much better than shortbow now."
Yeah, I mean, to me, it makes sense. It's shortbow; it should shoot shorter distances. It's in the name. Longbow, okay. So I'm, it is what it is. But it wasn't. It definitely wasn't nerf for them. So anyway, to get back to the Warriors, Warriors got more stun breakers. So again, I don't know. We have to see why. Maybe we can.
One thing that I really love my warrior for. He's not 80 yet, but he has all the signets. And so when I was using signets, I had no stun break, which was really irritating, especially on the stability, because you don't really quite know when you need stability, and often I would always trigger it afterwards. So having that stun break on the stability is actually really fantastic for me, because now it feels complete. Like the whole using all signets is something that's viable now.
So probably Ali. That's exactly why they did it. They wanted more build diversity. So, that makes Detective Ali on the scene.
Yes.
By the way, I love that cutscene from Dragon Bash when it's like the smoky bar and everything. Like
that was really cool.
Yeah. And also they adjusted Berserker stance. I don't remember. Like I had a word to like maybe level 11, so I don't really know. But I'll just read it off to you guys. It says, with Berserker stance, they increased the recharge to 60 seconds, but they reduced the duration to 4 seconds. So it seems like a nerf, and it says, but they changed the ability to, the stance now reduces incoming condition duration by 100%.
I'm confused.
So somebody casts a condition on you for the 4 seconds that it's active, you don't get the condition doesn't apply unless they have like condition duration increases. So if they're at like 110%, you'll get the 10%.
Yeah. All right. So instead of 4 seconds, you'd only get it for 2 seconds. Oh.
There we go.
But routinely while you guys are talking, so like when I do start talking, it doesn't just go shh. So like every time I pull out my plug and put it back in, but bad timing.
So it's reduced to 4 seconds. So I don't know. I don't know what it was before.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Is that it for everything then? For the balance?
Just like a final sum up. It seems like they increased overall damage in the game, and that's kind of like what I'm getting at. Like, I think what ArenaNet's trying to do, and I was talking about it with a bunch of guildies. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to say glass cannons aren't like. There's 2 ways to get rid of glass cannons. Like, you either like nerf abilities or you increase damage across the board. This way, they can't sustain themselves. So I think Arena, and you can see like what Ali said about the new dungeon. Like, you can't go in there glass cannon. You're gonna die if you go in there without any sustain. So I think ArenaNet, because it's across the board. Like you see everybody got some damage increased for the most part. It seems like ArenaNet is really trying to maybe get into like a bruiser kind of meta where you got to have a little bit of sustain carry, which I like. I think people should have to sustain. I'm not really into glass cannons because for me, I'm rambling. I'm sorry, everybody. Sorry. But for me, like when you fight a glass cannon, it's like they do their burst and you die, or you don't, and then you kill them. So it doesn't feel like it could be skillful on a very high level, but I think for the average person, that's just very frustrating. Like I fight this person and they just wipe me off the planet, or like I make a lucky dodge and I kill them. And I think I I agree with them. If it seems like they just want to try and get away from glass cannon builds.
I think I've seen a couple videos of people saying that this is a very big problem in the game, where the only the best viable thing to do in dungeons and everything is that you just glass cannon up, and damage is the biggest thing, and near like sustainability and that sort of thing isn't really pretty much the best way to do things. For example, look at COF Path 1. People with full Zerkers gear can still do it. Like, if you don't have a tank in the group, if everyone is as squishy as anything, you're not supposed to be able to do stuff. Like, they say that they got rid of the whole Trinity, but what they should have said was, we'll let you decide who the Trinity is. Like, we'll do, good group dynamics. The fun of a group is knowing your place in a group, and, you're not meant to get rid of the healer, you're just meant to make it so that anyone can be the healer.
Instead of four warriors and a mesmer doing COF1.
Yeah, and so that everyone. And I think that is a problem, and I'm glad that they're kind of identifying it, and that they're going, all right, so how do we kind of negate the glass cannon?
Because that's the one thing that is held over from the Holy Trinity, is because you used to have two classes supporting glass cannons. Like the way like if you think about it, tank and healer support glass cannon. Like, if you didn't go full glass cannon, you weren't, because you didn't fit into the Trinity. And that is something like that people are trained to believe. And it's the same thing. Another reason people go glass cannon is because people are used to DPS timers on bosses, where every boss, it would always be a DPS race. So you have these two factors that people, the Trinity's been around for a very long time, and DPS timers has been around for probably 6 or 7 years, maybe a little bit longer, but around that time. And so you have these things beaten into people's heads. They have to find creative ways. So instead of saying, okay, we're going to nerf everybody, make everybody mad, how about we just up the damage on everybody? And you know what? We'll let the glass kind of get blowed up a little. We'll see how it goes out with him. So we'll see. We'll see.
Right, anything else to mention before we wrap it up then? I'll take that as a no then.
Yes!
Yeah?
No, I got one.
Go on,
this
then.
is short. On Reddit, I think a French interview with ArenaNet.
Yes!
Forgot about that.
Good job!
confirmed
We all forgot, except for Steve.
raids. They're working on raids.
Oh, that's exciting.
So group content for WoW veterans. grab your copy of Guild Wars 2. Put down your pandas.
I think the closest content they had to that at the moment, which I love, like I look forward to this every week, is guild puzzles. And the guild missions that you, the puzzles that you can do. It's not a raid, but it's a group thing that's difficult. That, like, I remember the first time I did it, we walked in there and we figured it, and no one else had done it because it was one of the new ones, and we're all trying to figure out how do we do this, and that feeling of like togetherness is just something that I love. And I feel like sometimes ArenaNet forgets that we play MMOs because we want to be with people. Like, I know that there's some people who are like, I want to have the single player experience from an MMO, which they shouldn't really be asking for, but I love that feeling when you work together with a guild, and we work together with a party to do a hard dungeon, and I feel like raids is something that I'm going to really enjoy, because it means that you have to work together and you have to talk to people and figure things out together.
Yeah, definitely.
And they also,
and you could even think that the guild's group content was them learning how to build raids. You know what I mean? Like testing it, how it works in Guild Wars 2, instead of just releasing it and it being imbalanced and upsetting people. It's like, how could we test it first? Okay, we'll make guild content, so this is going to be content that people can use and consume, and then we could use that to test, okay, how does the group dynamic work with larger groups doing? So, it's like, I always like to think very, very deep on stuff, because I think that we don't give credit to how smart and future-thinking developers are. So I think it's good to like always try and connect the the steps and see if that was really what maybe possibly ArenaNet could have been thinking.
And you just look at the guild puzzles and you just kind of see how inventive and how creative they are. I mean, the Azura Laboratory with the, I don't know if you guys have done it, but the Azura Laboratory where you go through and you actually follow the steps of like some script that, you know, you have to do the puzzles that the script did. And at the end of the maze, there's actually a chest. And the chest is a block of cheese, and the block of cheese opens up, and you get your prize. And like they're just super creative, like really creative with everything they do. And I can just imagine what the raids are going to be. They're not going to be stock standard WoW raids. They're going to be creative and just inspiring. So I'm super excited. Oh my god, fangirl, keep it in.
Yeah, I definitely agree because like somebody that was speaking about the person who created Super Adventure Box, how the talking to the person is like talking to a mad scientist. The person is a genius, you know, and you could see that ArenaNet has tremendous talent in there. So I think give him cut him some slack. You know, I know a lot of times forums and other Reddits and stuff like that can get a little upset, and you're passionate about the game, and that's awesome. But at the same time, like, let's see what ArenaNet does because it looks like they're improving consistently. I totally believe that.
Absolutely. And another thing we should mention as well is they also mentioned player housing
and guild halls.
And guild halls. Guild halls. My guild. One of the guild leaders, because we have like a few leaders in our guild. She has been begging for guild halls, and she like every time someone mentions new content, she goes, "Is it a guild hall?" So she's super excited for guild halls, and I really hope that they're creative with guild halls. Like add this sort of role playing aspect to the guild halls. Different areas like buffet area and stuff like that. Just somewhere where it feels natural and wonderful to meet and that sort of thing. So I'm really excited to that. And I don't know what they're going to do with player housing. I'm a bit confused. But hey, I'm excited.
It could be the Rift way where your housing is an instance. So they don't have you don't have to create like all the world to do it. One thing with the guild halls, how about in the guild halls you can host a guild versus guild competition and they could trash your house.
And afterwards, if you lose, you like have to get the brooms and clean up everything.
Your only weapon is a broom and like a mop.
So there's a lot of different possibilities that they can go forward with, and they've just confirmed it. So I'm really looking forward to when they start teasing us and telling us that it's coming out.
Yeah.
When did that happen? I totally missed that.
It was in French.
Yeah.
That's
that was the same site. It was where they confirmed the raid. It was also they confirmed the guild.
Yep.
French people are so lucky.
The Europeans. ArenaNet loves the Europeans.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. Especially the community managers, German. So.
Yeah.
All right then, I think that pretty much brings this episode to an end. We've been like an hour. That's probably like our longest one we've done in quite a while. Yeah.
I remember a time when we were like, let's just try and keep it down to like 10 minutes to half an hour, just really quick, snappy.
Okay, so as usual...
the content's good, you want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. True. Yep, we've got tons of content lately, so it's a natural that we'll go over.
Yeah.
Thank you, ArenaNet.
Okay, so podcast@guildmag.com is of course the email address for your comments, suggestions and whatnot, and you can also use the comment system below on the Guildmag website or YouTube, however you're watching this. The link to our Twitter accounts of course will be in the show notes, so you can also get in contact that way. We do love to hear from you, and I guess we'll see you next week. So, toodaloo!
Bye!
Hey everybody.